Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to Metamorphosis from Trauma to Thriver podcast, where we talk about all things surrounding anxiety, depression, dissociation, PTSD, and mental health. I'm your host, Sharon Ann. Today, I'm joined by our guest, Angela Smith. Angela is a New Zealand author and coach who writes books on self esteem for adults and children. Alongside her children's books, Angela is a wellness and self love expert. During her coaching sessions, she draws on the information from her award winning series, Stepping into Love for Adults, teaching them how to embrace self love and live a vision led life. Angela, welcome to the show. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the
Thank you
audience?
so much.
You're welcome.
I'm happy just to chat, and I think the audience will get to know a little bit more about me and about you. And I want to say thank you for having me as a guest. I love the title of your podcast, Metamorphosis. I think that's what we're all about, a journey, and yeah, that ties in beautifully with my Stepping into Love book.
Thank you so much. So, to get the ball rolling, how do you decide to become an author, and how do you know that self love was a niche that you wanted to work with?
It's going back a fair few years now. Back in 2007, I published my first book. That was almost 2 years after my son had started school. There was a settling in issue and a comment passed by one of the teachers that I didn't quite know how to readdress. And I went home and I rang a friend and I said, "What should I do?" And she said to me, "Write a book." And so within 30 minutes, I had the title of the book, which was I Love Myself. And I wrote that book. Of course, then after that, anyone that writes a book or is attempting to write a book might know that probably putting down the words in the first place might be the easy part, but then as we can tend to do with many areas of our life, is overthink things. And so then I started to change things. But the more I went on, I knew that this was a book that needed to be out there in the world. I was so passionate about it at the time. As a single mother with not a lot of money to my name, I didn't know how to go about it. So I was completely green. I had friends, um, like a few adults did some illustrations. Children did illustrations, like friends of friends got their children to do the pictures. And I then went to people like Penguin, and I think I phoned Scholastic as well. And I had a meeting with Penguin, which is probably unheard of these days. You probably wouldn't get a meeting without an agent. And one of the commissioning editors loved the idea, the other didn't. And I thought, okay, I need to just push this project ahead myself, as I had the illustrations done and all the words as well. And long story short, I went ahead with a 3,000 print run, not without $1 to my name, and I had an almost $8,000 bill to pay. And I went door knocking to schools, to creches, to kindergartens, and within 7 to 8 weeks, I had enough money to cover the cost of that print run. So I was passionate about it. I just knew that kids, it was important for them to feel empowered, to know that they mattered, and to start like self-soothing with talk that was affirming for them. And with this book, over the years, I've sold, I would say, as many copies to adults as I have for children. And even if I show people this book to this days and adults, they say, "Oh, that's my page." Like this one page is, "I love myself. When you say I'm different, I'm still okay with me." And then on the other page, the girl is in the middle and she's saying, "I love myself." And there's two girls either saying, "You're not my friend," which is quite a common thing in school playgrounds for kids to, I guess, if they're not feeling good about themselves or they're hearing other children, they're wanting to fit in, then they'll often lash out at others. I always say when we don't have good self-esteem, that our behaviors don't reflect who we are at a true heart level. And that's not to blame or shame anybody for any of their behaviors or ourselves. It's just to learn different ways that do work for us. Um, Here's a page. I'll show you the picture
I love the
there.
picture, how bright it is, and I love the way the lettering is. It's almost like a rainbow, like the way it flows.
Thank you. If you look, I'll read it in a minute, but if you look, that's the cover, which does have a rainbow, and it's an upside down rainbow. It's like the colors of the chakras, and it doesn't matter. My illustrator did that without me asking him to. He just, it was almost like an accident that was perfect, because we're all perfectly imperfect. It's like, I like with any of my books for them to be not formulaic, but to really come from the heart. But with this one, it says, I love myself. When others aren't nice, I say, please stop. And so that's teaching children to find their voice. And so classrooms use this book, and they would take a double page spread at a time. And then they would, talk out these messages, and then they would draw their own illustrations. So it's a learning book. But I love myself. I say kind words to others and to myself. And that's that one there, the little boy and a girl. It's sort of mirror talk. There is a mirror in the picture, which I talk about as well in my Stepping into Love book for adults. Learning to actually look in the mirror and say, I love you. I'm here for you. I've got you. You're doing okay. It's that sort of self-talk that I reach for on the daily, because life is just coming at us at the moment. We're like on overload. It's just, and so no matter, you may look at the strongest person and think, oh, they're together. They may be together in that moment, but the next moment they may be falling over. But it's how we pick ourselves up, that matters. And to know that we can pick up ourselves up, or reach for a book like this that will, I've got some beautiful reviews and people saying it's like having a friend by your side encouraging you. And that's what I wanted. It took me quite a few years to write this book, and I would think a chapter was done, and then it was almost like what I was writing about would happen in my life again, so that I could go back in and add even more compassion, because I didn't want it to be a rah-rah-rah book or like a goal-setting book. That wasn't my domain. I wanted to be that we were compassion-led and vision-led. And when we sort of know the direction that we want our life to go in, with that passion and that vision, I believe that we'll always be shown a way. Might not happen the next day, our biggest dreams, but as John Lennon said, not to be cliched, life is what's happening, while you're making other plans, or something like that. So I probably butchered that up, but life is the journey. It's not the destination. It's each moment. Thank you. Just have a little drink of water.
Yeah, I love that. That is so true. And I like how you say that we're imperfect people, because there's no such thing as perfect. Everyone has their own view of perfection. But one person views as perfect is different than what someone else views as perfect. And there is healing in affirmations. It's just, like you said, how you use them. Sometimes we can say something like, I love myself, and we're just saying it to say it. But the more we say it, the more we reflect it back to ourselves, then it has meaning. An example is, a long time ago, I used to have someone that used to tell me, I want you to repeat this phrase after me. I'm in control of my life. I'm in control of my life. And then years later, it's like, oh yeah, I am in control of my life. And that's how it is with affirmations. Like the more we say them, we just say them, but sooner or later they have more weight to us, more meaning to us. And also, I like what you said about beforehand, how sometimes it's hard to be a author, a publisher, to get your foot off the ground. I was a writing major in high school, and I was a writing minor in college. So one thing that worked for me back then, and I don't know if it's still around, is a poets market and writers market. And that's how I got my start into like publishing in different companies. So I have heard of that company that you mentioned. I don't know if they're like still in existence or how far down they are right now, but I have heard of them.
That's good. Yeah, they're a big company. with my so flowing on from what you're saying, my I Am Me Unique and Free book, there's a page here that says, I am beautiful like a flower. Everyone is beautiful in their own way. What makes you beautiful? And there's the flower there. And big words. So each page again has a double page spread, but it's thought provoking. So again, it's not just saying an affirmation without actually knowing what it means. Like this one is, I'm healthy and my cells sparkle inside. Close your eyes and imagine that you are sitting beside a magical tree. What things do you see? And look, isn't she beautiful, this tree?
It is beautiful. It makes me think of like the tree of life. And my interpretation are like the branches are like our thoughts, the different thoughts that we have throughout the day or throughout the week. That's how I interpret that picture.
It's again, I was having a conversation with somebody was it 2 days ago, and I was talking about life being like our minds, thinking about like a house. And so it's, what room do you want to go into? Do you want to go into the room of grief? And which maybe that you do want to go into the room of grief and you're not quite sure how to get out of it. But could you open the door into joy, even allow yourself to experience joy for 5 minutes? Could you go into the room of the kitchen where you love to bake and bake a beautiful cake? Could you go into maybe if you've got a conservatory and put in some beautiful classical music that's going to uplift you? So it's like so with that book and the tree, it's like, even though it's a children's book, you could go to your magical place that uplifts you. And I think we need to remember that it's okay to be elevated no matter what we're going through. It's okay to shut out the outside noise. We don't need to know everything that's going on in the world, especially if we don't know how to solve those issues. I think it is equally as powerful or empowering to spread out messages of love, whether that's via a prayer, whether it's by going into nature. I think if we believe that we impact the world, which I believe we all do, like a butterfly's wings, then we start to see the value in ourselves. And I think when we see the value in ourselves, then we begin to feel worthy about ourselves. And that's where self-love comes into play. Like, we can say, oh, I love this part about myself. I love this part about myself. But in some degrees, that's still separation. What about even I'm willing to love all of myself, or I love and accept all myself, like working with like radical self-acceptance and radical self-love, forgetting about the flaws that we may not like about ourselves, but just focusing on that we're a human, that we're a being, that we're emanating love as an energy, and that we can fall in love with that aspect of ourselves, and that the other things can just sort of fall away. Because our negative self-talk, sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. The negative self-talk will get us down. And a lot of it is like just the positive talk. It's like right brain, left brain thinking. It's like letting the positive outweigh the negative, and our self-talk, like having a thought, but like not feeding into the negativity.
Absolutely. Is it real? It probably isn't even real. In 10 years' time, and am I going to still be thinking about this? And it's not to negate what we're going through, because if those feelings are there, they are real for us in those moments. And if we try to push them away, we're going to just they're going to come up. They're going to rise up to the surface later on. But again, it's like, okay, this is how I'm feeling, but also I'm going to focus on some joy. I'm going to focus on something that, that I can change, or something that I can feel good about. I always say laughter is such a healing modality. Even if you had to put something funny on a funny clip, you can laugh till you've got tears streaming down your face and coughing, basically. So that's clearing the lungs of the lungs in Chinese medicine are to do with grief. And it's like getting that out of your body. And again, which room do I want to go in today? Do I want to stay in the room of grief? Or actually, can I come out? Can I sit with what I do enjoy about myself? Can I sit and think, what do I bring to my relationships? How can I, what ways today can I impact others? What ways today can I be kind to myself? And then we'll in that elevation, that's when we start to see the wider picture of what's possible for us. If we say stay closed in and hemmed in, then that's not going to bring those feelings of joy, of love, of peace. But those feelings are accessible to all of us.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned how to do is when I'm feeling angry or down, just to sit in that feeling just for a few minutes, just allow myself to feel it. And then to move on by journaling, exercising, going for a walk, putting on music. And I like what you said about like don't hold it in for so long because when you do, it comes out like one big explosion. That is so true.
Absolutely. It's like, and I think we're all guilty of this. We might go to a friend or a family member, and if we've had something that's upset us or somebody, we think has mistreated us or, annoyed us, then we go and we rant, and then we might go to the next person, and then we might go to the next person and so that whole conversation and that time with those people is taken up with that rather than something amazing might have also been happening in your life. You could talk about something totally different. You could, with that friend, you could say, tell me something, about your childhood that you loved, or, anything, and open up a conversation, and you could totally learn something about that person rather than we've completely dumped on them something that they may be able to give us advice, but actually that's probably what a counselor is there for, a professional person. Or, you could have a rule in your friendships. I'm going to talk about this for 5 minutes, and then it's totally change the trajectory and talk about something else. And I mean, I don't want to dismiss if somebody's going through an absolutely traumatic time. But then again, probably they should be talking to a professional person so that they are getting the absolute help that they need. So I think that's what all of my books and my work is about. It's about what is possible. What can I do? How can I feel different? How can I accept more of who I am and myself? So we're being kinder to ourselves. And I think when we're more kinder and forgiving of ourselves, then we can feel worthy of the good that's waiting there for us.
That is so awesome and so really worded really, really well.
Thank you.
Yes. So, diving deeper into self-care, how do you practice self-care in your own daily routine?
It's winter here where I am, so I always start my day off with a freshly squeezed lemon juice and water, so that'll spark some energy in me. It's a beautiful winter's day here today, and so I just stepped outside and I love listening to the birds. It's like, and just nature. It's like the cold air on my face just waking me up. So that's something that I will do. I will work on my affirmations. Another thing is not world. So we'll need to edit this, but how does almost asking my day how it wants to delight and surprise me. So it's like, okay, I wonder what else is possible today. I wonder what surprise is going to show up. I wonder how things are going to flow for me. I wonder what good I'm going to find in my day. So it's, again, the wonder aspect opens up to what's possible and to what we might not even be expecting for ourselves. I think setting up your day energetically, when we do this, even for 5 minutes. It's like setting an intention. I want to have the best day possible today. Yes, I need to get this done and this done. I also want to feel good about that. So it might be for me putting on a really good piece of music. But of course, I got a very loud cat. He's nearly 17 and he's gorgeous. So in the morning, I need to spend about 10 minutes with him because he's very attention seeking. So so that's also something else. I mean, I think we all love our fur babies and know how much love that they give us back. So it's the simple things in life that get me through. If I get too far ahead of myself, that's when I start overthinking. And so it's like just bang, come back to where I am right now. Because our brains, they just go constant. And
Yes.
and it's just like, no, that just has to stop. And that's like why I love listening to nature, because it takes me away from my mind, which can be very overactive. I'll also go to my Stepping into Love book and I will randomly open a page like I often suggest to people, and there's always a message there for me. It's not a book that needs to be read cover to cover. It's like there'll be inspiration. And so even though I write inspiring and uplifting books, I still need those reminders, as I say, because we've got life coming at us constantly. And no one's immune to, well, even for me, as I put myself out into the world, you get feedback, and it's from people sometimes that misunderstand you. We all get feedback from people that misunderstand us and think that they're often talking from their lens. So it's whatever I can do to fill my cup, because how I am and how I show up is up to me. It's none of anybody else's business, really. It's because we're all unique in our own way, and the sooner we stop tearing other people down, the more we will rise. So I say, together we rise, together we lift one another up. And that's what your podcast is about. It's letting people know when they're down on the floor, when they're down and out, that they matter. I've been down on the floor and down and out and not wanting to be here more, countless times. So I know this is why I speak from my truth, because I had to look at myself and think, and not in a negating way, but in an honest way, you're the common denominator in these situations.
Yes.
So how are you going to change this? How are you going to stop, being pushed over by lack of boundaries? How are you going to set up your day so that it moves you forward? Because that's what self-love is about. Self is coming back to self. What do I want for me? When we come from a glass half full, and when we're living our path that we want to be on, then we're going to impact others. But right now, if you're not at that place, you've got to, because we're always impacting others, but it's by impacting yourself with kindness and with self-love, because then that reverberates. When you go outside and you give someone a smile, and then that might light up their face. That might be the only smile they've got that day. Your hello might be the only hello that they've got. So you may think you've got nothing to give. Everybody has something to give.
People pick up on our energy level. What we model to them, they model to other people. What they see in us, they pick up and they give it to someone else in return. Like, our attitude should match the attitude we want someone to display to us. Our talk should match the talk that we want to receive in return.
Absolutely.
And you're right, you can't pour from an empty cup. You must first take care of yourself first, because how can you give to others when you're empty, you're depleted, you have nothing left?
We can't. That's when the resentments build up and anger build up. And really, again, that's sort of where we sort of started. It's that anger and resentment is really towards ourselves, but we lash out at others with our words and with our actions, rather than taking a step back, taking a breath, not responding to every email, every message necessarily straight away, or just saying, I'll get back to you on that, or noted, or I need to think about that. Taking 72 hours before you respond to someone.
That used to
Because
be me. Yeah, I used to go out there and be like, I gotta respond right now because what if I'm the only person they talk to during that day? Or I used to be a people pleaser, which I learned to work on better. I used to please others to feel loved, valued, and accepted. I thought that if I pleased others, then my self-esteem would grow. But no, now that I step back, I'm saying no more to things that I used to do just for the sake of it, and yes to things that I really want to do.
it's beautiful, because I think often we do have been a people pleaser in the past as well. It's like you think that elevates you, but there's a falseness in that, and it also fosters codependency as well. And
Yes.
no one really likes it then, because we become entangled, and that's not a healthy space or place to come from.
True. What new material or new books are you working on at the moment?
I'm working on the third book for my Stepping into Love series. So there's a Stepping into Love, and then there is also, which I published last year, Your Stepping into Love workbook. And then there is a third book, which is a book on gratitude that is
Oh,
that's coming out, will be out in time for Thanksgiving. So
perfect
yeah,
theme because Thanksgiving is a time for gratitude and appreciation. And so many times in life, we say, I'm thankful for the birds, I'm thankful for the trees, but we never really add on to that. I'm thankful for the birds because they provide me someone to talk to, or I'm thankful for the trees because they provide me with oxygen. Normally, with gratitude, we just leave it at the bare minimum, but there's more to it.
absolutely. It's like with the affirmations, it's the feeling aspect. So it's not just empty words. So I guess it's almost like we can think of them as like conversations, if we're just lamenting or replying to someone without really listening to what they've said. We're not going to necessarily, or the other person's not going to necessarily feel uplifted. And so in this instance, if we're doing our gratitudes or our affirmations, if we're not doing them with heart or sincerity or really believing them, then we're going to feel sort of that half glass, like we're going to feel left empty, as if we probably shouldn't have bothered. And I would say that's probably so. So it's almost like I'm willing to be grateful. I'm willing to look for things to be grateful in my life. I'm willing to consider that I'm lovable. I'm willing to yeah, absolutely. Maybe I am. Maybe I can love myself. Maybe I can be open to that. And then almost saying, how do I impact people in the world? Where have I elevated other people? And so it's like you're building up your reserves, and maybe write all those things down, so that, and that when the gratitude journal is coming out, there is a place, and in the workbook there's a place to journal free flow, as well as there's prompts, so that you're building up, so that you can go back and read over those things. As I say, because we all need those daily reminders,
Right. Since we're talking
all of
about,
us.
sorry, we do. Since we're talking about self-care and self-love, I'm going to give you a little challenge. What are three things that you most love about yourself?
Okay, I would say my tenacity, my courage, and I love that I have self-belief in myself.
That last one's a good one. Yes. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think because they're all like that. Thank you. They're like the attributes rather than what we might physically say, because I think we can get very hung up on that. Because really, again, self-love is embracing all of who we are, and I think it's the energy that we carry forward, that we're that we're loving about ourselves, not necessarily, you know, our legs, our teeth, or whatever, and what I don't like about myself, because I think we can go on that journey, and that journey can, that isn't self-love. That's objectifying ourselves, and it's separating one aspect, you know, it's separating the core of who we are. Like we're mind, body, spirit. So when we come together and are just love, we just love and accept ourselves. There isn't the separation. It's just, I'm lovable, I feel lovable, I am lovable, I love myself. And it's a process, but it's again, it's like the radical self-acceptance. And why wouldn't we love ourselves? Why wouldn't we be compassionate of ourselves? If we can't love ourselves, then other people will find it hard to love ourselves, to love us, because they'll be picking up on those signals that we're giving. So I think above all anything else, self-love is where it all starts and ends, because then we show up in the world as our brightest self.
That's the way we should be doing. We shouldn't be picking and choosing what we love. I like that. It makes me think of like the Humpty Dumpty effect. Humpty Dumpty was very imperfect. He picked what he liked and what he didn't like. And then when he was whole, only then did he see his true character. It makes me think of that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I like the imagery that you're like sharing right now. It's very positive. It's very upbeat.
Thank you.
Let's see. When it comes to like negative talk, what helps you defeat those negative talks? Or like when you have a negative talk, what's your first line of action to cast it away?
I think it's just deciding and knowing that that moment isn't, well, I ask myself, how is this serving me? How is this moving me forward in life in the direction that I want? It's like being stuck in quicksand, where you where you slowly you're sort of going deeper and deeper, and it's going to be really hard to drag yourself out. So I think I have trained my mind to think, okay, this really isn't working. You know, I said to my son yesterday, I was really tired, and I said, I'm feeling really grumpy today. I said, well, I'm feeling really antsy. I said, I can just see myself. I just can feel it. I said, I'm not really grumpy, but I am grumpy. I'm almost grumpy for the sake of being grumpy, just because I'm tired. And he goes, yeah, I've noticed, Mum. And and then I sort of opened my book, and it was a really positive message saying about, you know, it was something like, you know, it's up to you. Your mindset is up to you. And you're the one that can snap yourself out of it. You can, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so it was like, it was a perfect message for me. And it was like, okay, I had to laugh at myself, because it's like, you need to read what you've written. You know, it's so easy again to forget and to get out of it if stuff is, you know, this, that, and the other. And so it's just, for me, I guess I feel different now. I feel, writing these books and being on the journey that I'm on, I'm not the melancholic person that I was. So I guess I've really elevated absolutely overall. So yesterday when I thought I am grumpy, I can really feel that. I could own it straight away, and I could laugh about it. And then it was like, okay, I actually need to change this. You know, it's not, you know, how about, yeah, just shifting into something else. And I think the laughter, and that's why I said watching something funny, whatever, if you don't know how to shift it yourself from your mindset, then find external tools to do that. And that's where these books come into play. And of course, they're so full of affirmations and compassion and love and encouragement. So it's like, yeah, I get to do that, you know. And even preparing for this talk, just opening up my I Love Myself book, it put a smile to my face. And so I thought, yeah, there you go. So you know, pick up a children's book. I've got lots of them. I've got about 6 of them out, but you know, any children's book that uplifts you, you know, nurture that inner child.
Yes, that
Be
is awesome.
Yeah, be compassionate to yourself. I talk about that in the Stepping into Love book, being self-compassionate and talking to yourself as if like you were a baby or a child, saying, there, it's okay, it's all going to be fine, you're going to get through, and that's the self-talk that can really help us when we're just really feeling derailed. To say we've got to find those tools to change those synapses in our brain so that we're coming back into the present moment, not just dipping backwards into that quicksand or where we have gone so many times before, because we are that common denominator, and it's like, no, that doesn't suit me. How can I love myself or treat myself that little bit better, where I will feel better about life, where I can see the possibility or the hope and know that things will be different. So again, I think, I was going to leave your audience with anything. It's that mindset and self-love is not just a momentary thing. It needs to be your everything, basically.
Thank you. Mindset is powerful. When you have the right mindset, everything else flows in alignment. And then I'm with you too on like the daily thoughts that we have and doing daily check-ins. And then laughter is the best medicine. I forget how many muscles it is when we frown, but it's only few muscles when we smile. And there's always something to be grateful for. Like even when we have a challenging day, see the good in the challenge.
Absolutely, and know that this too shall pass. Or as you say, what's the gift in this? Even if it's, I need to walk away from that. I need to never go there again. Sometimes we go down so many times. I think they say it takes people 7 times to leave a relationship, especially if it's an abusive relationship.
Yes.
And I think it's like you get to that point where it's like, okay, never again. You draw a line in the sand, never crossing over that again. So that's where the mindset thing comes in as well. So you're lifting yourself up. It's not about that other person. You're the common denominator in your life again. So how can I love myself even more? How can I show up for myself today? Yes, of course, I've got this obligation and this, but I can still be kind to myself. Even if you think you haven't got time for mindset or whatever, do it when you're in the laboratory. It's like when you're in the shower, write things on the mirror, have your post-it notes everywhere.
Right.
It's just have them as reminders. Have your favorite piece of music that elevates you. As I say, it's almost, again, I talk about baking, but almost have your recipe of what's going to elevate you, and have that as a checklist today. Okay, I need to at least step outside for 1 minute and have a 1 minute walk. You can walk to the next house and back, but out on the street, you're outside. When I'm driving, I can put on this piece of music. I can listen to this positive podcast. So it's like so we all have choice points. And if you're on a scale where you feel like you're falling back into the negativity and really everything's getting on top of you, is look to your list. Oh, okay, have I done this today? Have I done this? It's not to beat yourself up, but maybe I could do this. Maybe I could listen to that. Maybe I could go read a children's book. Maybe I could put on a bit of dance music and dance like no one's looking, and just but just shake off the day.
Yeah, just making use of your time, making use of the small pockets of your day too.
Absolutely, because we think we're all too busy. But if you think I can find just 5 minutes, I have a come to a place of calm meditation on YouTube. Maybe we can put the link in with the podcast, and it's so calming. And it's 5 minutes. And some people say it's not long enough, but that's the thing. Everyone can find 5 minutes to listen. And it's a real I also work as a massage therapist, and one of my clients, she's a lawyer, and she said to me, I listen to it every day. She said, it's so hypnotic. And I thought, wow, that is so that's so cool. I need to go listen to it myself. So yeah, just even 5 minutes. Or as I say, that's why my Stepping into Love book, you can open it randomly at any page and there'll be a message, so that it's So that things, I guess, setting up your life so that things don't become another task that you have to do. You don't want to be a task. You want to be a lovable something that just deserves to ooze and shine and sparkle and just showing up for yourself in your life and knowing what is possible. And again, it's not just the destination, it's the today. I want to feel a little bit more sparkle. Today I want to feel a little bit better about myself. I want to feel a little bit of peace. I want to feel a little bit of possibility. And then think, how can I do that?
Right.
And then that,
Yeah. Anything's possible. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's as you've said, it's the moments.
Yes. One last question. What do you consider your greatest achievement and why?
That's a big one. I think becoming a mum. I became a mum. I was a single mother at 38. And it's been such a journey. So I think if it wasn't for my son, I wouldn't have written my first book, and then I wouldn't have carried on. And he's a wise soul, and he, like I said yesterday, when I said I was feeling grumpy, and he said, "Oh, yeah, you are, Mum." So he will call me on my stuff, which I love, because that's the open conversation that we have in this family. I think at the beginning, while being a single mother, I knew that I wanted a harmonious home as much as I could have a home. And so I said I need to make this work. And I think if you have an intention that I want this to work, then you set about making it work. And we just found ways, and we have a really good, healthy relationship. And so, yeah, I guess that's one of my proudest thing.
Thank you, Angela. That's a huge accomplishment. And to all the single mothers out there, I give you guys credit because you're juggling the household, taking care of a kid. You're playing the role of both mom and dad. And it's not easy because sometimes there has to be a boundary between when am I your mom? When am I your friend? When am I disciplining you?
Exactly. Luckily, he's now in his early 20s, so it's a very much an equal relationship. But yeah, when he was younger, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, look at all my mommy friends and like, wow, it's so hard, but you guys make it seem so easy. And they're like, no, it's all mindset, it's all discipline, it's all reaching out when you need help. Because asking for help is not a form of weakness, it's actually a strength.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In my I Love Myself book, there's a double page spread. I feel happy to lend a helping hand, and there's one where I'm happy to ask for a helping hand. So it's instilling those messages in children right from an early age. And I think that's it. I always say that's the yin to the yang. If we've spoken about being people pleasers, and if we're always doing that, we're not giving other people the opportunity to give to us. So it's got to be both. Just like you with this podcast, if you didn't have an audience, I mean, if you didn't have a guest, then you wouldn't have a podcast. If if I didn't have podcast hosts in my life, that would be one less platform for me to share the messages that are important for me to share. So life is symbiotic. So it's important it is important to reach out for help when we need it.
And that is so true because I do solo episodes, which are great, but I get more value when there's other people on because I hear from their stories and their experiences. And that's how we grow in life. We're not meant to do life alone, we're meant to do life with other people in the picture.
Correct. I would say that too.
Yes. All right, Angela, we're coming up to our hour. Angela, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. To the audience, I hope that you benefited from Angela's talk today. If you have a topic you'd like to discuss or you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, please let me know in the comments below. Angela, thank you so much for being here and for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank
you.
you.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.